Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of We Built a Gym. Hi guys, so welcome to episode 4 of We Built a Gym. In this one we're going to be talking about location. This one's going to be a little bit shorter, a little bit sharper and packed full of information. So get those notebooks out and be prepared to write some stuff down.
If it's not shorter, you've made us look like mugs.
Yeah, I've set us up very badly there. It ends up being another 30 minutes.
Every single week.
Yeah, but people love it, don't they? I hope.
Yeah, sure, they love it, yeah. Like one thing that's been really awesome since doing this is that people have actually come to the gym because they've seen the podcast and they live in Portsmouth or Basingstoke or anything like that, and they have dreams of opening their own gyms, and they've watched and they've come in. That's really cool.
Very cool.
And one thing they all talked about was the fact that, like, how do you find a location? Because our location in this part, like, we're in the arse end of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, we're down
out in the
country
sticks.
road, in the middle of two towns. You know, we're not really in either one of them, even though we're technically Liphook. And so for us, location was really, really tricky, and we took a bit of a gamble with this place. You know, lots of people said, will it work? You're not getting any footfall, you're not getting any people walk past. How are you going to attract them? And we kind of just said, screw it, you know, found it, love it, let's go. So yeah, location, it was mainly, we could have gone anywhere. We could have opened a gym literally in any town, but the things that dictated it for us were, first of all, finding a building.
Yep.
Which is very hard, and maybe I'll elaborate in a second. Second thing was the competitors around. What are the local gyms in that area like? Are they any good? You know, like, will we do well?
Is it saturated around the area? Yeah.
A bit, yeah. And you've got to make a judgment call on what you think of them, and essentially whether you are better than them.
Oh yeah, and if there even
more.
will be competition kind of thing.
Yeah. And then the third thing was, is it commutable for me and Tim? Because obviously we're not going to be opening a gym where we live, or a very rare chance. So it was, how do we find a place that we can actually get to and from every day without driving 2 hours, you know?
Absolutely.
So we basically looked for a building for a long, long time. And the main thing we found was that as a new company, as a startup, basically a lot of people didn't want to know. So we would contact estate agents, we would look online on all these websites. We'd find places and I'd call them, I'd email them, and they'd basically say, like, "Oh, are you a franchise? Are you a major global player?" Well, no, we're a startup, first time independent gym.
And like,
yeah, they just don't want to know.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of rejections in that way, that they just didn't even want to have a conversation.
Did you get your hopes up for like a specific location? I guess that would be a mistake that a lot of people would make, you know, being like, well, I'm going to set up there and being really certain on it, and then it doesn't come through and they're like, well, the whole plan's done.
We were adamant that we would open in Red Hill in Surrey, which is nowhere near Liphook. It's 45-50 minutes away. We were adamant. It had all these factors that we thought were amazing, kind of like semi-affluent, expanding, growing. London commuter belt was expanding to that area.
So I mean, it's quite exciting. You get all these like factors, and you're like, that would be perfect, but obviously it might not come through. You know?
Well, yeah, it didn't, and we basically ended up losing on a couple of buildings in Red Hill. One of them we lost at the stage where basically the landlords liked us, and we had this like sit-down meeting where we explained our vision and our goal, and they liked us and they liked it.
Yeah.
And then just before we started to move ahead, a lumber company came in and didn't need to do change of use. So the building, you know, they were definitely going to take the building
like
there.
Easy handover,
Yeah, whereas we needed 3 months to do a planning proposal.
Yeah.
So we lost that. And then later, we lost on a building genuinely 2 doors down from that one, in Red Hill, in this, I forget what it's called, like about a business park and industrial estate. 2 doors down, and it's felt like a godsend, because we had discussions, found out that the owners were sick of it being empty, so they had put in for planning permission. So the building was about to be approved to be a gym.
Yeah.
And there's us like, we need a building to be a gym.
Yeah.
And it was a great fit, and then we basically found out that the estate agent was using us to get more money out of another bidder. And they've opened, they're called something like Surrey Martial Arts Centre or Academy or something. And it's like a jiu-jitsu place mainly, and they've got this small gym downstairs. That was sad, and obviously it's that situation like, do you remember being like 15 and like you're just in love with a girl and like you're like, why isn't she calling me back? And like you're like looking at your phone like, why isn't the estate agent calling me? He told me he was going to call me. Why doesn't he love me? And in the end, after days of hammering him and his assistant, he just said, oh yeah, when you came in, the other guys upped their bid and they've gone with them, and we're just brutal. After a long time, talking to a lot of estate agents, and I'm no problem saying this, estate agents are the worst people in the world. There is no one worse. You know, you're like, I want to give you money.
Yeah.
Why do I have to chase
Stop
you to
making it
give
so
you
difficult,
money?
Yeah.
And actually, I think that our landlord found the same. And we ended up circumnavigating the estate agent and just talking to each other a lot in the end.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, we're looking for buildings. We have this huge radius determined by how far we can commute. And then we find this building. It's been empty for over a year and a bit, and you need that for planning permission. You need to prove to the local authority that the building doesn't need to be what it is. So this was industrial, doesn't need to be industrial. No one wants it as that. We want it as this.
Yeah.
So being empty for a year is a major player in that.
Do you feel like you need to think a little bit longer term when sort of setting a location? Because obviously they're normally longer term leases, aren't they? It's normally a 3 to 10 year lease, I've heard up to, especially for buildings like this. So
yeah, ours is 10 year lease, yeah.
Did that come into sort of like a factor at play of deciding the location? Like, well, we need to be here for this amount of time, or is it just how it goes?
Well, yeah, like 100%. The thing that you're faced with really is, if it doesn't work, we're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
So the lease would be void and we would be gone.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, there's that. But also, yeah, you want to open in an area that you're confident you can do well in long term.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we did a lot of research. When we found the building, found the area, we did a lot of research, kind of like a market research study on our competitors, from large to small. And we found out that we felt pretty confident about who we'd be going up against and why what we would do would be worth it and would draw people in. So we did a competitor survey and study kind of thing. We actually went into all of our major competitors. We just in normal clothes, just walked in, you know, we'd like to have a tour.
Joe Blogs.
Yeah, we'd like to have a tour.
Yeah.
And kind of made judgments about what we'd seen and what we felt. And decided to go for it, which probably tells you what we think of our competitors in terms of...
Did you get to do any taster classes?
I didn't do any taster classes.
Any functional training?
And I think it seems a bit shady to say that we did that. Like that we snuck in and we're like, oh yeah, just moving to the area, blah, blah, blah. But the funny part was that then, when we'd been open a few months, one of our competitors came for a tour of our gym,
really,
pretending that he had moved to the area, and he wasn't the owner, he was the manager, and he brought his deputy manager with him, and came in, and I knew who they were instantly because I'm neurotic enough to know what our competition looks like, what their staff look like, what they do. And I asked him some probing questions, you know, like, what brings you down, mate? Oh, I've just moved to the area, looking for a gym, and I was like, oh, have you? You've just moved to the area, have you?
Oh no.
And anyway, gave him a tour. Talking to him about bits, obviously chucking in some subtle digs to see if he'll bite. And the funny thing is that we had ex-members of his gym training at the time, and they were all like, oh my God, do you know? And I was like, I know, don't worry. Let him have a tour, have a tour on their own. And then just before they left, basically was like, when are you going to tell me that you're the manager of that place?
Called it out. God.
Just like, why lie? You know, if you want a tour, just say, hi, we work there. I'd love to have a tour and see what you guys are about.
Yeah.
You know, why not? I don't care. We have PTs that work at other gyms who train here.
Yeah, of course. Like, competitor analysis is a very real thing. You're allowed to go and look at your competitors. You have to, otherwise you can't just be naive enough to open an area and be like, well, that's perfect. You know, gonna do it. Gonna destroy everyone. No, you're not.
So yeah, those are our three main things: finding a building, looking at the competitors, and then is it commutable for us? It's a 50-minute commute for both of us, so we said it's long, but we'll do it.
Okay.
So yeah, that was the main thought process of finding our location. And like it's I'm sure it's different for us because ours has to be this very specific physical space.
Yeah.
Whereas coaching can kind of happen anywhere, right? And
yeah, well, yours are more defined. That's the thing. So obviously, you need to have the right building type and stuff. You can't just move into any building and like set up and start setting up gym equipment and then you're good to go. But obviously, yeah, the coaching space, especially online, is a lot more free in terms of your location. So obviously, if you're a personal trainer, if you're in person, then you can pretty much choose the gym you want to set up a base at.
yeah,
And you're pretty flexible on your options with that. You can either do like hours, you could do rent, or you could obviously be employed there and then do that. And then the online space, the good thing about remote coaching is that you can work with anyone, even as far as from around the world, which I do currently do. Got one of my clients who's from Belgium, international coach. Yeah, but online is good in that regard. I don't have to think of things so like defined. I don't have to go through processes to get anywhere.
Yeah.
It's really got that flexibility on things, which is great. That's what you're looking for in terms of sort of setting yourself up. But for me personally, I still have the hub of like being here. I would consider this like my location to do in-person coaching because I do still do that, and then I feel like that really benefits my online location, which would be anywhere. Obviously, I do think having a sort of set location as a coach is a really good thing to do as well, just because you can push things kind of the next level, rather than just online where you're sort of plugging for clients and you kind of have to rely on like social media or self-advertisement, word of mouth.
Does it give you any credibility being a little bit of both? Do you know what I mean? Like you've got a means of demonstrating regularly, apart from client feedback and videos of clients all around the world training, but actually like that you are a good coach who's working with people and you're not just a nerd behind a laptop.
100%. I think, and yeah, that's where that blur of like online coaches and in-person coaches and people who do both kind of comes in. That's sort of what separates them. That's where you probably get more value, because I would say that it has refined. As I've done it a good few years now, it's refined my sort of skill set as an overall coach.
Yeah.
So, I've taught something to a client in person last week, and then next week an online client raises the same issue. And because I was able to do that in person and fix it, I can then apply it to online clients as well. So I feel like it has made me a sort of, I'm not trying to be arrogant or whatever. I feel like it's made me a more well-rounded coach. I'm not referring to how I look. Another important thing I like sort of talking about location is it changes. Like there's the future prospects of where you are and, how things can actually change in your location. We're probably watching out for, developments in online coaching, like how you can work with people, the systems you can use to sort of maybe reach further or be more local in terms of being an online coach, because there's always untouched areas. There's people who still come in who live a minute away from the gym and are like, yeah, I've never heard of this place. And it's like, what? Well, how? We've been open nearly 2 years. I thought we'd reached everyone, but it is much more to expand. So I feel like, those future prospects of a location is important as well.
Yeah, for us, the future prospects, one of the reasons we chose Liphook and Borden it's going through a huge regeneration project, like new houses being built all the time, trying to change the face of the area, which, I'm sure is why one of our major competitors opened as well, because they have that same feeling.
Yeah.
And so the area has this potential and this room for growth naturally without having to like kind of take away from who you are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You haven't got to start doing things that go against who you are and what your brand values are to attract new people, because there are new people coming into the area all the time.
So it's sort of like organic and like, yeah.
And that for us was a huge thing, which was just a huge positive for us about the area.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're always looking at how we improve and studying both the immediate local area and the wider local area. Tell you how much we analyse things and we keep track of things. Obviously, our main competitor is just a bog standard commercial gym, that you would find anywhere. We opened at a very similar time to them, within a few months of each other. But what was interesting is, and obviously I'll never know the answer to this, I knew they were coming.
Yes.
I through my neuroses was looking at online planning portals and stuff, and basically always looking for, is anyone else about to open a gym? And one day I found that they were, and I saw their planning proposal, and I saw that it was taking ages, and basically we opened.
You were 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, we opened a month earlier than we intended to. We opened on June the 2nd. We were going to open middle of July when I finished teaching. But we opened earlier because they were coming.
To set yourself sort of in stone.
And they're a gym that ties people into 12-month contracts. And if we open after them, a lot of people are going to be stuck.
They're done. That custom is taken,
Exactly, and they're not going to be able to come aboard for a year. So, that was you've got to keep track on everything, not just what you're doing, not just what your current competitors are doing, but also potential competitors.
That is like an exact example of adapting to the location and what the location is doing, not just sort of setting in yours, well, we've got our gym, we're set up, so we're cool, we're good to go. It's not as simple as that. It's always going to be changing.
And surely a problem with online coaching is, so for us it's quite rare that a competitor opens, but online, I mean, to a layman, to someone that isn't in that world, bloody everyone's an online
Everyone's
coach.
a coach, well, that's the thing, that setting up a gym is obviously going to be a lot bigger project. It can take, months, years going into it, depending on what you want it to be. But online, constantly growing, everyone's a coach, like you said, they'll do a competition, oh, I'm a coach, start offering it because they've finished their PT course, well, I'm a coach. But that has its pros and cons, because it's pros that, online coaching is a lot more accessible for a lot of people, which is great.
It's more of a known thing to people now.
Absolutely, which is cool. Like, everyone can get a coach and everyone can be, taught and get access to a high level of information. But the cons are that, you've got to be sort of selective on your coach, and you don't want to get trapped into not getting enough value for what you were after. You know what I mean? When with a gym, you're going to be more selective. Well, I definitely want to go there because I've had a tour, looked around, loved the equipment, loved the atmosphere, loved the people by the looks of it. Whereas online coach, well, this guy looks great, this girl looks great, but it might not be the case. They might be selling their services higher than what they are.
Kind of catfishing a bit.
Yeah, catfishing. That's it, and all sorts of other problems you're going to run into, but. Again, that's like a whole nother topic itself about how fickle the industry can be, and almost how dangerous online coaches can be. Like the amount of scandals that come out. I guess there's some gyms, but the online location is a growing one that you have to sort of be wary of. Do some, but then it's on you to do some if you're looking for that and you're a potential client, to do some research and be independent. Do I want to go to this person? Do they get good results? Do I like the look of what their clients are doing? Do I think I'd work well with them? And the rest, there's so much to look into. So, online location is fantastic, but it's a little bit more hasty than you got to be a little less hasty than finding a gym and getting a membership there. I would say a little bit more wary. As a coach, I've had to steer away from certain things, or work with, I've almost pulled it back and started trying to work with more local people, people who I can help in the gym, who can benefit from coming to the meetups and all the other stuff I'm doing, rather than trying to work with people further afield just because it's would look good or something. You don't want to spread your online location just because you think it would look good or it's going to be a good idea,
Doing it for the clout. And
the clout.
This week we're not going to do a full long Q&A. We thought we would just talk about one of the questions we got. Sorry to anyone that asked and we're not answering your question. It's not that they weren't good. This one was just better. So basically, one of our members at Athlete Movement, James King, the tallest man you'll ever meet.
He's tall.
Asked a question, are there any future plans for more gyms? Which obviously is quite specific to Athlete Movement, but has implications for the strength movement.
Yep.
And basically the answer is kind of. Anyone that opens a gym, I'm sure, has the idea that in X amount of years there'll be a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth.
Of course.
As soon as we opened and we had, we were gaining so many members and building such a nice community and something that feels really special, we realised that actually opening another gym would be incredibly hard, because how do you replicate what you've done? Should you replicate what you've done?
Yeah.
Should you do something, similar but different?
Would it detract from the current place? Would
Exactly.
Would it sort of cross over and then get all confused?
Yeah, and that for us, the dilemma for us is that we want what we believe is special to be in more places. We want what we do to be accessible to more people, which is trying to provide the highest level of coaching, the highest level of equipment, the highest kind of level of atmosphere and environment and relationships with our members to more people. I'm sure if I could click my fingers, I'd have an athlete movement in every town in the whole country, if not the world. But the danger to that is, do you ruin what you've already built?
That's it.
Do we open a second one either locally or a second one somewhere else in the country and end up putting all of our time into that one and not treasuring what we've got here? And actually people deserve that to be treasured.
Yeah.
This isn't a big capitalist goal of let's become billionaires. It's never been about that. And actually I think it's far more important to
If anything, that could be the complete opposite way if you're opening more locations. You know what I mean? Because again, like we've spoken about in the previous episodes, the amount of investment, time, effort that's going to take. It's not a case of just click my fingers and time to get rich.
So if we could ensure that athlete movement in Liphook continued to thrive and grow and be what it is, maybe. If we couldn't ensure that, we wouldn't risk what we've built to have something different.
And knowing you guys, you'd be firm on that decision too.
Yes, but I guess with James's question, what I liked about it was, if we did open up more gyms, the strength movement would be in more gyms.
It would, but again, same thing. It's like, if it grows, is that growth at the sacrifice of value elsewhere?
Yeah.
Would the online presence decrease as I spent more time between the gyms or sort of tried to bring TSM into the gyms more? I guess it's a case of quality over quantity, and that's sort of what it comes down to with those kind of things. Like, you don't want to detract from what the members have got at the previous one. You don't want to lessen the services and sort of have to scrape up the bottom of the barrel for the stuff you're providing ultimately. So it would mean growth, but I think in that regard, growth is not always a good thing. Yeah. Especially when you're talking about a sensitive industry where it relies on the quality of the service you're giving and the value you're trying to provide to your clients. So
because you're not just a cookie cutter coach, just copy pasting stuff out for people. Yeah,
it's got to be a bit more to it than that, and the same as a gym, like especially an independent one, and like we've spoken about, you've got values and sort of proper things behind it, rather than just trying to make another one for the sake of it, or like you said, not just be another like mimicking of it, and just be another and then it would end up as like the shadow of athlete movement, the shadow of the strength movement.
Do you end up having like athlete movement 1 and 2?
Yeah.
Do you end up having like the main one
do you rename it? Yeah.
Like
the side piece.
Yeah, the side piece. Yeah.
The side chick.
No one wants to be the side piece.
No.
And like I can't let this topic pass without sharing. I think I've definitely told you this before. Something incredibly cringe that a member said a few weeks ago when they asked me about this and growing. And I'm sure that member will watch this, and I want them to know that this was cringe. They said that athlete movement isn't a place, it's the people. And that is so unbelievably cringe, but so complimentary. And actually I understood what she meant and understand what she means still. The worst part is it's a direct rip-off of Thor Ragnarok. when Odin tells Thor that
Damn.
about Asgard. But I guess in that metaphor, I would be Thor.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that. Sure, whatever you want.
Yeah, I'd be Thor.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Right, that wraps us up for episode 4, location. Thanks again for all your questions. Sorry we couldn't answer them all. We really just wanted to dive into James's question a bit because it's quite revealing about the future. Next week, episode 5, we have our first guest. Stay tuned to see who that is. Remember, hit the like button, thumbs up, comments, subscribe, share, let your friends know about it, let your parents know about it. See you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.